Welcome to the Victorious Living Podcast. You're about to hear real stories of real people who have discovered the real hope of Jesus Christ. I'm Christy Overton Johnson, the founder and publisher of Victorious Living magazine. Since 2011, I've had the privilege of sharing the most amazing life stories. I never cease to be amazed at the life-transforming power of Jesus Christ. Today in our podcast, you're going to go deeper into these amazing God stories and hear from those who have overcome incredible odds and discover how they found a life of freedom. You can discover it too. I trust that you'll enjoy today's conversation between our host and our special guest. Thank you for listening, and be sure to share the hope you hear and the mission of Victorious Living.
Welcome back to the Victorious Living Podcast. I'm your host, Brooke, on the mic with Parker Byrd today. Parker, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, feeling good, and glad to be back doing everything I was before.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to share your story. It's absolutely gut-wrenching, but also there's been so many miracles that have happened, and I know that those who are listening are going to be encouraged that our God is super big and he's not limited by our physical limitations or anything else that we have been through in life. So I'm super pumped about that. Parker, you go to East Carolina University and you play baseball. But tell us a little bit about that journey of where you're at now and the epic, crazy injury that had occurred to you in 2022.
Yeah, so I committed to play baseball here at East Carolina in ninth grade. So
wow.
I've been committed here pretty long time. So it's been childhood dream was to play here. Both my parents went to school here, so I just always loved East Carolina and always dreamed of playing here. And then I finally committed, and everything was going great. And I went to summer school before my freshman year, and was having a great time. And then the very last weekend of the entire summer, me and a couple of buddies decided to go down to Bath, which is probably 40 minutes from here. And he had a river house, and we're just going to have fun tubing. And we went down on a Friday, and that Friday we had a great time. Went out on the boat and did everything we were going to. And then that Saturday, I was supposed to take one of the guys back to Greenville. And I told him I had a car there, so I told him I could do it. There was no big deal. I didn't care to stay there for 2 days. And so that Saturday morning, he got a text or call saying, "Hey, Miles, thanks for volunteering, but we don't really need your help anymore." So we kind of got pumped and excited, and the guys kind of convinced us to go back on the boat. So we stayed there another day, and me and a guy named Dixon Williams got on the tube first, and first ride went good, and then the driver decided to go a little bit crazier second one, and Dixon ended up falling off, and then I ended up falling off as well. And then I was swimming back to the boat because I was closer than Dixon was. And as I got within 10 yards from the boat, I was using the rope to kind of help myself get in a little bit easier. And the driver accidentally put the boat in reverse, and the propeller got wrapped around the rope and basically sucked me under the motor. And so the propeller hit both of my legs and my left hand. And then the guys acted very quickly. Miles jumped in immediately. My girlfriend was there at the time, and she acted really quickly, calling 911, calling my parents. And guys on the boat were waving down other boats because they needed help. And they kind of knew what to do, but not really. And we're just 18-year-olds just having fun. And so they were waving down boats because our boat couldn't move because of the rope being caught up in the propeller. So they waved down boats. The first boat stopped, and they told them the situation. And the boat was like, "Sorry, we have kids on our boat, and we can't really help, but here's a first aid kit." So the guy's like, "This isn't really going to help at all." Parker's legs are shredded. His hand's pretty bad too. So they waved down another boat, and that boat stopped. And the only reason they were there at that moment was because one of the couples had gotten into an argument, and one of them was like, "Hey, can you just take us back?" And so they were on the way back, saw us, and they stopped. And they were like, "Of course we'd help." So they transferred me to their boat. And on that boat, one of the ladies, she was a nurse, so she was doing everything she knew, was trained to do, tie more tourniquets around my leg, trying to get bleeding to stop. So that boat took me to the marina there, where there was an ambulance waiting on me, and then they took me into the ambulance, and obviously they were trying to stabilize me as well. And then the ambulance took me to Washington Hospital, which was probably 10-minute drive at the time. And they had called ahead for a helicopter, and they airlifted me straight from Washington to ECU Health. And so I was in the hospital for 4 weeks. I initially did not have my right leg amputated, but on August 4th, I had to get my right leg amputated just due to lack of blood flow going to my foot, and just from the initial shock and incident or accident that the blood flow was going down to my foot, but it wasn't coming back up. So we had a choice to either try to continue the medicine that I was on, which wasn't working at all, and the infection could spread and just get really, really bad, or just amputate my right lower extremity. So I decided to do that on August 4th. And then I stayed in the hospital all the way until August 20th, and my accident happened on July 23rd. So I was in there for basically a full month. So
Wow.
excuse me, but so I was in there for a full month, and then got out, and it immediately was like, hey, my goal is to play baseball again, no matter what. That's always been my dream. I don't realize or don't understand why I would ever quit. So I just kept on going. Did everything I could. Did a bunch of PT. Still doing it to this day. And last year I was obviously a freshman in college, and I kind of took a gap year from baseball and stuff because I was part time in school, so my athletic clock wouldn't start. So it kind of worked out really well.
Yeah.
And so last year my eligibility didn't start for baseball, but this year it did. So
Wow.
now I'm back with the team full time. I'm back practicing, playing, doing everything those guys are doing. So it feels really good to be back, but
Yeah.
there's still a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Well, you are like a little over a year past all of this. So have you
Right.
been able to like mentally process this? Like, do you feel like do you still have your days where you have to kind of process what happened and grieve what happened?
Um, Luckily, I have a very good support system around me that ever since, I mean, all my life, but ever since my accident, even more people have been a part of our circle that's just really helped me keep my positive attitude. My parents and family have done a tremendous job just supporting me my whole way. But I mean, I do have times I'm like, wow, it's like really happened, but
Mm-hmm.
it's never really sad anymore because I realize that it's for the better, and that God does have a plan for me, and that He has a plan that I have no idea how many lives I can reach now, and now I can use this as my platform to show His work and to show His mercies. So I just kind of view it as a blessing now in disguise, and at the time it definitely didn't seem like a blessing, but kind
Yeah.
of aftermath that we're seeing now is, I mean, it's pretty incredible just to see what he's doing, like just through my life. And I'm just really just a plain old Division I baseball player. I mean, nothing special about me at all. Just had an accident and just love
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, and I think like that's like the hard part for people in their walk with God is when bad things happen, we think
Yeah.
God's doing it to us. And that's just not the case.
Right.
Like God, like even in your verse that
Right.
you love in Jeremiah 29:11, like he doesn't plan to harm us. That's like not in his plan.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But life happens and we live in a broken world where there's accidents
That's
and
right.
there's cancer and there's miscarriages and there's tornadoes and there's war. And so we
Right.
live under the sun of brokenness. But because we have the Lord and because we are in relationship with him, he will work things out for our good. And
Right.
I love that because I used to get that a little switch where bad things would happen, I'd be like, God, why are you doing this? Or,
Why
why?
me?
And it's like, yeah, he
Yeah.
allows things to happen, but he's not a puppeteer trying to make bad things for you. We have
Right.
choices and people have choices and there are mistakes. And so I love that in your story, written and spoken, you've just given credit to God using a bad situation and turning it for good. And I think that's
Right.
just such an important and healthy way to view things. I also would like to ask, so the guy that was driving the boat and put it in reverse, did you or do you struggle with resentment at all? Or do you have a ton of like forgiveness in your heart
Right.
and you move past it?
No, yeah, I mean, I totally forgive him because, I mean, God doesn't want us to hold grudges at all. And I might know that he made a simple accident and I shouldn't hate him for that because, I
Yeah.
mean, I've made a ton of accidents in my life and I mean, nothing that severe, but I mean, he was an 18-year-old kid just trying to have fun and he didn't realize what he was doing at the time. So, I mean, have no anger towards him at all. I mean, I still talk to him on occasion. We weren't extremely close before. So, it's
Right.
like kind of hard to be extremely close now because I mean we still have the kind of same relationship honestly, and
Yeah.
I know his views about me are good, and he never would plan to hurt me like that. So
Yeah.
I don't have any hatred towards him at all, and I realize that hey, like he made an accident. There's no reason to base his whole entire life off of it.
Yeah, and for those that are listening, whether you're behind the bars or not, if there's somebody in your life that you can look at and point to of like, wow, they were a catalyst for an injury or a catalyst for a crime or catalyst for anything negative in your life, I think it's super important and we can learn from Parker that holding resentment and bitterness is not only harmful to that person, but also harmful to you. And so God has been so rich in his mercy and forgiveness to us. And I need to hear this because I can be bitter about the smallest things. Like it's not
Mhm.
even a boating accident. I could just have a minor inconvenience.
That's just
And
human nature too.
yeah, it's human nature. And
Yeah.
I could sit there and pack on the bitterness and add it on. And then it just infects me and infects the people that I love. So I love that you've been able to not harbor any resentment, but like, hey, it's an accident. It was all just chaos in that moment, and
Mhm.
God was able to
Right.
be glorified in it. So, Parker, what is your I should say it this way. Has your view of God since this accident changed?
Um, that's that's a really tough question because I mean I honestly get asked that a good bit, but because I view myself before my accident. I mean I was a Christian. I went to church and I was kind of just your basic Christian guy, and I was living a good walk, but now it's just I mean it just means so much more because he saved my life, and I knew he would, and I never had doubts in him, but just the fact that I know now like 100% that he is real and that he does everything for the good is just I just have a different outlook on it now, and I'm more appreciative, and I'm honestly walking a better walk with him now just because that's who I want to be, and I don't want to leave any doubt of going to hell, and I just want to 100% go to heaven. So I do everything I can. I read the Bible every day. Just really just trying to walk the walk He wants us to, and just try to be like Him, like we all should.
Yeah. And I love that he's, again, so rich in mercy and so rich in forgiveness that our righteousness
Right.
and our right standing, or righteousness, for lack of better words, is our right standing with God. All of that has been taken care of because of the cross. Like we can't
Yeah.
buy it, we can't earn it, we can't negotiate it. It's been given to us freely, and we all have the opportunity to accept that. But once we accept it, then life with Jesus kicks in, and now you get to really experience it. And I feel like you've been able, our sufferings really do bring us closer to him. He's always close to us. He's always revealing himself to us. He's doing that through kids, he's doing that through sunshine, he's doing that through joy. But also there's something to be said about when you're suffering and when you feel like you're in this valley that all you really have is him. And so it just
Right.
makes the richness of the good parts of your life even deeper.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to somebody recently, and for those of you listening, I hope this encourages you too. But, we've all been surrounded at some point or even been these people where we want everything the world has to offer. We want relationships, we want money, we want fame, we want whatever it is. But it feels empty. But when you have the real thing of who Christ is, and then you get to experience some of those things, you can, have kids and get married and buy a house and do the things that are human, that is still exciting, but none of it matters unless you have the real thing. And so I feel like that's exactly what your story is. You had baseball, you had talent, you had a future, and now it just means more because of the richness of the mercy that God showed you during this chaotic time. So what's up next for you? What would you like to see in your baseball career?
Really just get back on the field playing competitive games again in Division One. I'm blessed to be the first Division One amputee with a prosthetic leg. So just paving the way for other guys and other people with disabilities, really just prove to them that they can do really anything they want as long as they work hard, put God first, and just put their mind to it. And just trying to encourage those guys, and not only those people, just everybody. Just trying to show anybody they can do whatever they want, and just even though if you may not be the most skilled, you still can control your effort and control how hard you work. So just trying to be an inspiration now and just get back onto the field. And I've kind of have a different outlook now on baseball. I mean, everything baseball was literally everything to me before, and now I realize that hey, it's just a game, and we're just blessed to play, and this time's going to end soon, or not soon, but I mean in our lives, baseball's going to end, but God and other things are going to be around for forever. So just really just putting Him before anything now.
Yeah. Do you have connection or do you communicate with other amputees or athletes with impairments? Do you have like a connection?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I have actually several. So the very first one, then he's been an extreme supporter of me. Chad Porter, he lives in Wilmington now. He got into a boating accident as well. He was water skiing, I think, and he got basically ran over by a boat, and kind of the exact same story. So whenever I got my leg amputated, my dad reached out to him, and Chad was there the next day, and
Wow.
just showing support and showing that hey, you can do anything you want. And I mean that dude's he's older now, but he's still playing basketball with his kids, and he's still an athlete. So, and then a guy named Landis Sims, he was born without hands or feet, and his goal was to play varsity baseball in his high school, and he did that without hands or feet, and so that's pretty phenomenal. And then I also know this girl named Mackenzie Green. She is I think it's D3 soccer player in Virginia, but she got into a car accident, and then I think it was her freshman year of college as well. And I think she's a year older than me, but she actually came back and played soccer with a prosthetic leg. So
Wow.
I've definitely had a lot of connections. I mean, it's a whole new world. There's a lot of people that you don't even realize, and I see amputees all the time now. And
Yeah.
before my accident, they just were normal people, and I didn't even really realize them. But
Yeah.
so it's really cool just to see how many connections I've made with that side of the world now.
Yeah. And also with not that we live for worldly success, but there still is some success that happens in sports. You think of like Bethany Hamilton and just
Right.
that wild story. And she was so young
Yeah.
when that happened. And, the Lord has definitely shown through her and God is shining through you and all of these stories. And so it's like, you're blown away by how much God can restore something in your life, even if it doesn't look the way you thought it was going to look, but you can
Right.
also like experience a level of depth and joy that you didn't think you could. So I think
That's
that's
right.
exactly what your story is. And before we end our episode, I love to ask each guest what their favorite quality about the Lord is. I know there's a ton,
Quality.
but what's one of your
Um,
favorites?
probably his forgiveness, because I mean, I'm a sinner as much as anybody else, and the fact that he died on the cross for us, I mean, ultimately gives everything. So probably definitely his forgiveness, because I mean, no matter what, your sins are forgiven because of his ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah, I love that. There's actually I screenshotted this morning, so it's on par for what you just said, but there are lyrics and I wanted to read them. It's a song called At the Cross by, I don't know if you've heard of Tripoli. He's a Christian rapper, but he's straight up a theologian. But it says, at the cross where I left my flaws and my goals, lose my whole and I gave up all control. I left it at the cross. If you're looking for my shame and my gain and my stains, you'll find none of it remains. I left it at the cross. And I love that, because we can leave all of it out there, like everything out there at the cross. It can be our shame, it can be our gain, it can be whatever, but we realize that none of it remains at the cross. And so that is what our faith is in. It's not in anything else. It's not in our works. It's not in the law. It's not in anything. It's in what Christ did on the cross, and that he has deemed us worthy because he is worthy. And that is just like, you could spend, which we do, our whole lives trying to grasp that. And so I love that. Parker, thank you so much for joining the Victorious Living podcast and for sharing your story. It's been an absolute joy hosting you today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on here. It was really a blessing.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to Victorious Living podcast. Did you know that you can help incarcerated men and women experience victorious living? Visit victoriouslivingmagazine.com to find out more information. Are you an inmate in prison who needs encouragement? Write to us at Victorious Living, P.O. Box 2751, Greenville, North Carolina 27836. Every inmate who writes to us from prison receives personal correspondence from our team, quarterly devotions, as well as their own quarterly subscription to Victorious Living magazine.